There comes a moment in every person's life, often in the quiet hours of early morning, when the world has not yet awakened and the mind has not yet put its armor back on. You open your eyes to a soft blue glow seeping through the curtains, and for a brief instant, nothing speaks except the silence. No responsibilities, no noise, no expectations, only a quiet awareness that you are here, alive, yet unsure of why. In that suspended moment, a question rises from a place deeper than thought. Why was I created? What am I meant to become? Most people ignore this question. They push it aside as the day begins, swallowed by routine. But that question is not random. It is a sign, a subtle knock on the door of the heart, a reminder of something you have forgotten but have always known. Imam Ali, peace be upon him, expressed a truth that seems simple on the surface but carries the weight of the cosmos. You think you're a small body, yet within you lies the vast universe. This is not poetry meant to inspire. It is a spiritual map. Within every human being exists an entire world. Oceans of emotion, valleys of memory, horizons of understanding, and skies of longing. Yet most people live without ever traveling inward, without ever stepping into the vastness they carry. Life often teaches us to look outward. We measure our worth by achievements, our safety by wealth, our value by the opinions of others. We search for meaning in what we can touch and count and compare. But the mystery that haunts the human soul cannot be answered by anything outside, because the question itself does not come from outside. It comes from the depth of the spirit. Have you ever felt a sudden emptiness in the middle of a joyful moment? Or a strange pull in your chest when you see a sunset or hear a certain prayer or sit alone in silence? Have you ever been overwhelmed by gratitude without knowing why? Or moved by a sadness that had no clear cause? These moments are not emotional accidents. They are windows into the unseen. They are whispers from the place where Allah breathed His Spirit into you. Ibn Arabi, the great Sheikh al-Akbar, taught that every experience in your life, every longing, every confusion, every spark of hope is a sign placed by Allah in the mirror of your heart. Nothing within you is random. Not your yearning, not your curiosity, not even your restlessness. Each carries a direction. Each invites you inward. The heart, in the language of the Sufis, is not just an organ of flesh. It is a realm, a sanctuary, a hidden space where the human being meets the divine without words. But the entrance to this sanctuary is often covered by noise, by fear, by forgetfulness, by the weight of worldly concerns. Yet even beneath these layers, the secret remains alive. Sometimes the soul speaks softly, a feeling that life must be more than this, a sudden desire to be alone, a tear that escapes before you understand why. At other times, it speaks through events, a disappointment that forces you to pause, a moment of success that feels strangely empty, a loss that shakes the foundations of your identity. These are not punishments, they are invitations. They are the ways Allah calls the human being back to Himself. The truth is that you were not created merely to survive your days, to work, to eat, to raise children, to age, and then to vanish. Even animals do that. You were created for something infinitely greater, to uncover the secret Allah placed within you before you were born. Every soul contains a hidden light, a spark of divine recognition waiting to awaken. And your entire life, every joy, every hardship, every moment of silence is shaped around guiding you toward that awakening. By the time you reach the end of this journey, you will see that the question you once asked in the quiet of dawn was not coming from you. It was coming to you, a reminder from the one who created you, carried you, and placed within you a secret only you can uncover. There is a saying from a Hadith Qudsi that the Sufis have carried like a jewel for centuries. Man is my secret, and I am his secret. Most people read these words and treat them as metaphor, as if they describe a poetic closeness between the human being and Allah. But Ibn Arabi, the master of spiritual unveiling, insisted this hadith is not symbolic at all. It is a literal doorway, a key to understanding why you exist. A secret is something hidden, protected, placed where only the deserving can reach it. And Allah, the most subtle, hid his secret not in the mountains or the heavens, not in the stars or the seas, but in you, in your heart, in the place where only you and he can meet. But this secret is not revealed through intellect alone. It is not a concept you can memorize or a theory you can debate. It is an experience, a light that dawns inside, a recognition that unfolds gently like the break of morning after a long night. The Quran gives the map clearly. We will show them our signs on the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. Most people notice the signs on the horizons, in nature, in events, in the world around them. But the deeper signs, the ones that carry the weight of eternity, are the ones Allah plants within the human being. Your heart was designed to recognize the divine, just as the eye was designed to see and the ear to hear. But the heart recognizes through a different sense, a sense of nearness, intuition, remembrance. Think of the moments you felt an unexplainable pull toward prayer, even when your life was chaotic. Think of the times you felt protected from something you didn't even realize was harmful. Think of the sudden clarity that appears in the middle of confusion, not from logic, but from a quiet voice within that simply knows these are not coincidences, they are divine fingerprints across your soul. But why do so many people go through life without seeing them? Ibn Arabi says it happens because the heart becomes covered, like a mirror left untouched, gathering dust until it can no longer reflect the light poured upon it. The light is always present, but the mirror needs to be polished. Everyday life contributes to this covering. The noise of constant distractions, the pressure to achieve, the fear of what people think, the sadness we carry quietly. All these layers build a distance, not between us and Allah, but between us and our own capacity to perceive Him. Yet the secret remains, untouched, unmoved, waiting. Sometimes it reveals itself suddenly, like a lightning flash that illuminates the entire landscape of your inner world. Other times, it awakens slowly through gentle moments that you only understand in hindsight. A conversation that shifts your direction, a difficulty that breaks your pride, a blessing that softens your heart. Allah does not hide Himself because He is distant. He hides Himself so that the seeker may learn to look inward, to seek, to knock, to yearn. For yearning purifies, seeking transforms. And when the heart begins to clear, even a small moment, a breath, a memory, a sigh, can unfold into recognition. Have you ever felt that something sacred was trying to reach you? Have you ever sensed that your life has been guided by an unseen hand, even when you strayed? Have you ever wondered why certain moments feel too precise, too meaningful, too perfectly timed to be accidents. These are signs from the one who placed his own mystery within you. The human being was not created to merely believe in Allah from afar, as an idea or a doctrine. You were created to recognize Him intimately, the way the eye recognizes light, the way the heart recognizes love. Recognition is deeper than belief. It is the soul waking up to what it always knew. And this awakening begins with a simple realization. Allah placed His secret within you, and the journey of your life is the journey back to that secret. If angels already worship Allah without pause, without fatigue, without ever disobeying, then why were human beings created at all? This is a question that has occupied the hearts of seekers since the beginning of time. Angels glorify Allah with perfect submission, yet it was the human being, fragile and forgetful, who was chosen as the Khalifa, the representative on earth. What hidden potential lies inside you that even angels were not given? Ibn Arabi explains that angels worship through knowledge. They worship because they behold the truth continually. But the human being is different. You were created to worship through love, and love contains a depth that pure knowledge cannot reach. Love carries surrender, longing, vulnerability, courage, and the willingness to lose oneself entirely in the beloved. This world, with all its beauty and suffering, is the classroom of love. Every joy softens the heart. Every pain breaks it open. Every loss teaches you what cannot be lost. Every blessing teaches you the generosity of the one who gave it. You did not come here to memorize rituals or to navigate life like a checklist. You came here to awaken to the one behind all things, the one who wrote your story before you took your first breath. You came here to recognize Allah not only with your mind, but with your being. Consider the moments that have shaped you the most. Were they not the moments that shook you, humbled you, or transformed you? A person rarely finds Allah when life is comfortable, predictable, and easy. It is often the unexpected turning points that carry the deepest signs. Think of the mother who spends years praying silently for her child, not knowing that in those prayers her own heart is being carved into a vessel of mercy. Think of the man who loses everything, his job, his comfort, his pride, only to discover that the emptiness he feared becomes the doorway to sincerity. Or the person who, after a long night of sadness, steps outside to see the dawn breaking and feels a quiet reassurance whispering inside. You were never alone. These are not dramatic miracles. They are the everyday miracles Allah uses to draw His servants closer. They are the reasons you were sent here, not to be tested randomly, but to be shaped, guided, refined. Sufis often say that this world is a veil, yet also a mirror. It hides the divine behind layers of form, but it also reflects Him for the one who knows how to look. When a door closes unexpectedly, some see disappointment. The one who has begun to awaken sees guidance. When a blessing arrives without being requested, some see coincidence. The awakened heart sees generosity. When life becomes heavy, some see hardship. The seeker sees purification. And at the center of all this is a Hadith Qudsi, the one that holds the secret of creation. I was a hidden treasure and I loved to be known, so I created creation that I might be known. Allah did not create you simply to obey. He created you to know Him, to recognize His beauty, His mercy, His wisdom, His presence in everything around you and everything within you. Knowledge of the divine is not memorized. It is unveiled. It dawns the way light spreads across a desert at sunrise, slowly, softly, transforming everything it touches. This is why your existence matters. This is why your life is meaningful, even when you do not understand it. You were not placed in this world by accident, nor were the events of your life scattered randomly. The path you walk, the people you meet, the challenges you endure, all of them are arranged with a wisdom you will one day recognize. You came into this world to discover the one who has always been with you. You came here to find the treasure hidden inside your own chest. And once you begin to see this, the world itself starts to look different, not as a battlefield of survival, but as a journey of remembrance. The greatest journey you will ever take is not across the earth. It is not to a distant land or a sacred city. It is the journey inward, into the depths of your own heart. This is the path every prophet, saint, and seeker has walked, though each walked it in a different way. And it is the path every human being is destined to walk, whether they realize it or not. Ibn Arabi taught that the human heart is not just a place of emotion, it is an entire universe. Inside it lie oceans of memory, mountains of fear, valleys of desire, and skies filled with longing. But between the heart and the one who created it stands a veil, the nafs, the ego self. The nafs is not evil. It is simply unrefined. Like fire, it can illuminate or burn. Like water, it can give life or drown. It is the part of you that desires comfort, control, praise, and certainty. It wants pleasure without purpose, success without sincerity, certainty without surrender. And as long as the nafs dominates, the secret Allah placed within you remains hidden, like a moon covered by thick clouds. But something remarkable happens when the heart begins to awaken. Awakening rarely begins with joy. It often begins with discomfort, a heaviness, an anxiety, a restlessness you cannot explain. You feel out of place in your own life. The things that once satisfied you no longer do. The achievements that once felt important begin to feel hollow. Even moments of happiness are shadowed by a quiet whisper inside. There must be more to life than this. Many people mistake this restlessness for depression or instability. But the Sufis say, when the soul cries, the body feels it. The ache is not a punishment, it is a call. The one who breathed his spirit into you is pulling you back toward him through the very emotions you try to escape. Have you ever wondered why certain difficulties come into your life with such precision? Why a particular heartbreak shattered you, or why a specific loss humbled you, or why certain people entered your life exactly when they did? These are not coincidences. These are turning points, spiritual crossroads where your heart is being guided toward something greater. There is a moment in most people's lives, often around middle age, when they have tasted the world enough to know its flavor. They have experienced success, disappointment, attachment, loss. They have loved and been hurt. They have chased dreams only to find new ones. And suddenly, without warning, a question emerges. Where did I come from? Why am I here? This question is not a sign of aging. It is a sign of awakening. The Quran calls the human being zalim and jahul, unjust and ignorant, not because he harms others, but because he harms his own soul by starving it while feeding everything else. He decorates the body, but neglects the spirit. He silences the heart and listens only to the world. And when the soul begins to suffocate, It cries through emotions, anxiety, emptiness, loneliness. But Allah, in His mercy, writes awakening into every soul's story. Some awaken through hardship, some awaken through love, some awaken through a moment of stillness so profound that it changes everything. Imagine a man standing at his window after a long day, watching rain fall in silence. The world outside moves slowly, and suddenly he feels a clarity he cannot put into words, a certainty that life is not random, that he is being guided, that something within him is stirring. He doesn't know why. He just knows it is real. Or imagine a woman who loses everything she relied on, a job, a relationship, a sense of identity, and she collapses into prayer not because she is strong, but because she has nowhere else to go. In her tears, she finds a strange sweetness, an intimacy she had never tasted before. The pain that broke her was the very door that led her inside. Awakening does not come from the world. It comes from the soul remembering its origin. It is the beginning of the journey back to Allah, not outward, but inward. The secret Allah placed within you is not discovered through effort alone. It is discovered through sincerity, through moments when the heart becomes honest with itself, through cracks where light enters the places you tried to keep hidden. And once that light enters even a little, the entire inner world begins to change. If Allah has placed His secret within you, then surely He has also placed signs along your path, gentle markers guiding you toward that secret. These signs are rarely dramatic or supernatural. They do not appear as thunder in the sky or angels descending from the heavens. They appear in the simple, quiet, and often overlooked moments of ordinary life. Most people expect divine signs to be spectacular, but the Sufis say the real hides himself in what seems small, so only the sincere will notice. Think of the time you met someone by chance, someone you were never meant to meet by logic or planning, yet their presence shifted the direction of your life. Perhaps they offered a piece of advice with such precision that it felt as though they had read your heart. Or they appeared at a moment you were silently breaking, becoming a reminder that Allah sends guidance through people, not only through revelation. Consider the moments when you were protected from something you didn't even know was dangerous. A last-minute change in plans, a delay that frustrated you, a closed door that forced you to step away. Only later did you realize that the thing you wanted so desperately would have harmed you. At the time, it felt like disappointment. In truth, it was mercy. Or recall a moment when a verse of the Quran, a line from a lecture, or even a simple sentence from someone passing by pierced directly into your heart. Not because of who said it or where you heard it, but because the meaning was meant for you. When Allah wishes to speak to the heart, He can use the entire universe as His voice. Sometimes the signs come through emotions. A sudden surge of gratitude that brings tears to your eyes. A sadness that humbles you. A longing for something you cannot name. These are not random fluctuations. They are movements of the soul, waves that rise from the unseen world, reminding you of what you have forgotten. Let me share a few simple stories, nothing exaggerated, nothing extraordinary, just the way divine reminders appear in real life. A young man once told his teacher, "I don't feel close to Allah anymore. I used to pray with presence, but now my heart feels empty." The teacher smiled gently and said, "Do you think Allah has gone somewhere? The emptiness you feel is not distance. It is your heart calling you to return. The hollow sound is from the space He wants you to fill with Him. In another moment, a woman grieving the loss of a loved one sat alone in her room. She felt abandoned by the world, crushed by the weight of sorrow. Then she remembered a saying of the prophet, "Allah is with the broken-hearted." As she whispered it, something softened inside her. She didn't feel joy, but she felt held, seen by the one who knows every tear before it falls. Her grief didn't vanish, but it transformed into a doorway through which comfort entered. And then there was the story of a man who had been searching for purpose for years. One day, exhausted by life, he sat beside a river. As he watched the water flow, he noticed a small leaf drifting effortlessly along the surface. Something inside him awakened. That leaf has surrendered, he thought. It is carried by a current it cannot see. Why do I struggle so hard to control what was never mine to control? In that quiet moment, he understood surrender, not as weakness, but as trust. None of these are dramatic miracles, yet each carries a message, a subtle unveiling. Allah speaks to every heart in the language it understands. For some, it is silence. For others, it is loss. For others, it is a stranger's kindness or a moment of stillness that reveals what years of striving could not. Once your heart begins to awaken, the world around you transforms. A bird song becomes a lesson in gratitude. A storm becomes a reminder of power. A child's laughter becomes a sign of innocence. The entire universe becomes a mirror reflecting the one who created it. The truth is simple. When the veil begins to lift, nothing is ordinary anymore. Every moment becomes a sign. Every breath becomes remembrance. And every step becomes part of the journey back to the one who placed his secret within you. No one crosses the inner desert alone. The journey inward is the most sacred path a human being can walk, but it is also the most delicate. For the terrain of the heart is subtle, filled with illusions, shadows, desires, regrets, hopes, and hidden fears. A person may think he is moving toward Allah, when in reality he is circling around his own ego. This is why the Sufi tradition emphasizes something many today overlook. The heart needs companionship. Just as a seed cannot grow in barren soil, the soul cannot blossom without the right environment. The seed already contains the full potential of the tree, its branches, its fruits, its fragrance. But without the proper soil, without sun, without water, without a wise gardener tending to it, the seed remains only a possibility. Its greatness stays hidden beneath the earth. The human heart is the same. Every person carries within them a secret, a spark of recognition, a seed of divine remembrance. But the seed must be nurtured. It must be given the right company, the right reminders, the right atmosphere of sincerity and light. This is the role of the Murshid, the spiritual guide, not a magician, not a figure of blind devotion, but a friend of Allah whose heart has been polished until it reflects only the real. Such a person does not give you something new. They help you uncover what was already yours. Ibn Arabi often described this process as transmission, a subtle passing of state from heart to heart. It cannot be fully explained, only experienced. When you sit with someone whose heart is alive with remembrance, something in you awakens. Their silence teaches, their presence comforts, their humility corrects. You feel lifted without knowing how. A Sufi once said, "One moment in the company of the sincere is better than 1,000 years of isolated striving." Not because the guide replaces effort, but because the guide redirects the heart toward what truly matters. Think of how ordinary life works. If you want to learn a craft, you seek a master. If you want to learn a language, you seek a teacher. If you want to heal, you seek a doctor. Yet when people seek the most precious knowledge, the knowledge of the soul, they often try to walk alone. They rely solely on books, intellect, or self-invented ideas of spirituality. But the inner world has its own physics, its own dangers, its own hidden currents, and one who has never crossed that landscape cannot guide another through it. The true guide does not impose, he does not demand, he does not seek followers. His role is simply to show you the mirror of your own heart, to help you see what ego tries to hide and what divine light tries to reveal. Sitting in such companionship is like sitting near a gentle fire. You don't see the flame entering you, but slowly you begin to warm. You begin to soften. You begin to shine. The heart becomes lighter. The world becomes clearer. The veils begin to thin, and something beautiful happens. You begin to remember who you really are and why you came to this world. For the journey is not outward. It is toward the one Kaaba that exists within every human being, the heart. Ibn Arabi said, "The pilgrim thinks the Kaaba is his destination, but the wise know the journey is to the heart. For the heart is the true house of Allah." When you find a guide whose heart carries even a breath of divine fragrance, you find yourself being drawn toward the one you have been seeking all your life. And through that companionship, the seed within you begins to grow, quietly, steadily, beautifully. Every journey has a destination, but the destination of the seeker is unlike any other. It is not a place on a map, nor a moment in time, nor a stage of life. It is a state of being, a clarity, a nearness, a peace that settles into the heart the way dawn settles onto the horizon. This is the station the Quran calls Nafs al-Mutma'inna, the tranquil soul. The tranquil soul is not a person who has escaped hardship. It is a heart that sees purpose in every hardship. It is a heart that has learned to trust the one behind every event, to surrender without resistance, to walk with a quiet certainty that nothing in this world moves except by his command. This is why the Sufis speak of dying before you die, not a physical death, but the death of illusion, the death of the ego that insists on control, the self that demands certainty, the pride that blocks the flow of divine light. When the ego falls away, even a little, the heart begins to taste a sweetness that the world cannot give and cannot take away. And then something remarkable happens. The seeker realizes that the one they have been searching for was never far. He was closer than their breath, nearer than the jugular vein, present behind every joy, hidden within every sorrow. The entire journey, with all its twists and trials, was simply a return to the one who was with them from the very beginning. This recognition does not remove the responsibilities of life. It transforms them. You still work, speak, move, and live among people, but your heart resides elsewhere. You walk in the marketplace, but your inner world remains in remembrance. You laugh with creation, but you belong to the Creator. The world becomes a passage, not a prison. When a person reaches this station, fear begins to dissolve, worry softens, anxiety loosens its grip. For the heart has discovered its true home, the presence of Allah. And once the heart recognizes its home, it no longer wanders in confusion. The human being came into this world for this moment, to know the one who fashioned them from clay, breathed into them from His Spirit, guided them through darkness and light, and placed within them a secret meant to be uncovered. You are not a coincidence. You are not a mistake. You are not a passing shadow in a random universe. You are the secret of Allah, sent into this world to remember the one who has always been remembering you. As you reflect on this journey, pause for a moment and look back at your own life. Has there ever been a small sign, a conversation, a moment of silence, a sudden clarity, that later revealed a meaning far deeper than you expected? These signs are not random. They are invitations. They are reminders from the one who placed His secret within you. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to share your reflection in the comments below. Your story might be the reminder someone else needs today. And before you leave, remember to like this video, subscribe to Voice of Sufism, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss the stories and wisdom waiting for you. May your heart be guided, your path be softened, and your soul be filled with remembrance. Peace be upon you.